Well, Trump's going to hurt the gun industry over the next 4 years, but make no mistake about it, it's going to be beneficial to you and me. And today I'm going to tell you exactly how you should take advantage over the next 4 years as a gun owner. But I'm also going to tell you how the other side, some people that are big in the industry might not necessarily come out and turn against Trump, but they're not necessarily going to like the policies over the next 4 years, which you would think is counterintuitive to what they believe in. But I believe some in the gun industry may even expose themselves over the next 4 years. I'll tell you exactly what I think here. Now, of course, I want to hear your opinion too. How do you think Trump will have a negative and a positive impact on the gun industry? Leave your answers down below before I even start the video and tell you mine. I can't wait to kind of see where you're thinking and if our thinking actually aligns, which I think for a lot of us, it probably does. Let's go and get started. So, how can Trump, who ran as a pro-gun president, negatively affect the gun industry? Well, it's simple. When you have a pro-gun president sitting in the White House, more people are inclined to believe that gun control is on the back burner. And while you should never, 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 no matter who it is, even though Trump is one of the most trustworthy presidents, in my opinion, that we've ever had, he actually does what he says he's going to do, which doesn't make him a normal politician. Let's just be real about that. Whether you like it or not, he does what he says he's going to do. But we've already seen that over the past 2 weeks. Some people are like, oh my God, Trump forgot about gun owners. And I'm like, oh my God, well, no, he actually didn't. Like within hours of the inauguration, the Office of White House Gun Prevention, whatever the hell it was called, shut down, completely wiped off. No statement, no nothing. It's just gone. I made videos about all this stuff too. The effect that he has on the gun industry, though, is very similar to other pro-gun presidents. When you have somebody in there that's not talking gun control, people tend to kind of take a back seat to what's going on. They're like, well, I don't really need to go out and buy that rifle that I was looking at, right? If Kamala was in there, you would have seen gun sales absolutely go crazy, through the roof. November, December, all the way up to inauguration and beyond, you would have seen those sales go crazy. People would have went into debt to buy firearms to make sure they have them just in case. This is a pattern we've seen repeated over and over and over. And really, since COVID, right, where crime kind of went up, people were at home a lot, there was this kind of cabin fever effect, right, and people wanted to make sure they could protect themselves. That was the highest amount of gun sales we've ever seen since it's kind of been recorded. We go off of gun sales by background checks, essentially, right, and so you can see an increase and decrease, and that kind of gives you a state or an idea where the state of gun sales actually are. And since the pandemic, they've always been higher than pre-pandemic levels, but they're starting to drop already. They've seen like a 7.5% decrease from, I don't know, December to right now, February of 2025. So already that's a pretty significant, talking about tens of millions of dollars just in a couple of months. But in that stagnation of Trump being there, not talking about gun control, taking steps to dismantle what Biden and Kamala did to hurt you and me, it's going to hurt the industry. So here's how you and me are going to benefit. Then I'll tell you kind of how some in the industry, big players in the industry, may not like this transition. So first, you need to take advantage of this. And what I mean by that is lower prices, right? More bulk kind of deals and sales. Now is not the time to just say, it'll be there in 6 months. It'll be there in a year. Maybe it'll be there for the entire 4 years of Trump's term. But there's going to come a time where you were like, man, I wish I took advantage of that. Because even after COVID, you've seen a lot of companies jack their prices up. Some quicker than others with pre-existing stock. But either way, you've seen a lot of companies do that, and it took a really long time to come back down. Remember after Sandy Hook? I started my YouTube channel in 2014. So coming up on year 11 of doing this. And in 2014, when I started, I was still, this was what, 2.5 years after Sandy Hook? I was still waiting in line for 9mm. Like 3 boxes maximum, right? And they were, I don't even remember what the cost of them were, whatever it was. Doesn't matter, right? There was very few boxes that you could buy. There's very few ammo you could buy. You know, some of it just, it takes a really long time for some of these manufacturers to not only fulfill our needs, but those with military contracts, they got to fulfill those needs. The ones where there's just surplus and the prices are good and you find these bulk discounts, take advantage of it, man. Stock up. You don't have to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars, of course, but just, you know, spending a little bit each time you get paid or just once a month and just stock up on it. Pretty much every time I go to the gun shop, I buy ammo, right? Now I shoot a lot of it, right? But I'm able to at least stack some in order to kind of, you know, at least keep my inventory as good as it can be. But buying in bulk especially, firearm deals, right? Those are going to be, and I'm not going to tell you where you can buy them. They're not linked here, of course, and all that kind of stuff. But these are the kinds of opportunities that you take to kind of buy this stuff in advance and just make sure that you're ready, right? So the next time one of these events happen, and no matter who's sitting in the White House, no matter how much pressure is on, you're not worried about it. You take the time, instead of running around trying to find ammo like everybody else, like in the middle of a hurricane when everybody's trying to buy the last case of water, you're sitting there with plenty and you're like, yeah, idiots. You know what I mean? Like you've already done the preparation. You're not running around. That gives you time to focus on what they're doing, to send emails and say, hey, if you don't do what you said you were going to do, if you don't back off of this pro-gun control move that you're about to leap onto, we're not going to re-vote for you. It just gives you an opportunity and more time to focus on what's important as opposed to just kind of running around like everybody else. Maybe it gives you an opportunity to get into more, I don't know, competitive shooting, right? You have a surplus of ammo, right? You know you're doing well. You can actually get out and enjoy these things. You maybe pick up on competitive shooting or skeet shooting or competitions or collecting or whatever other part of it you want to be in. It doesn't necessarily mean that the entire gun industry just shuts down for 4 years. Now, you may see a drop off in new gun sales, right? Especially if it's just your basic ARs and stuff like that. You may see that drop off a little bit, but it is what it is. The other thing, though, you'll see the industry doing is innovating, because they're like, okay, ARs, there's a lot of them, right? People like them. You should have 1, 2, or 10, but still there's other things on the market, right? We got to push some other stuff to the market in order to attract more buyers, right? People that typically would be like, I have that AR, I'm good. Well, you come out with something new, exciting, it's going to make a lot more people, or give a lot more people incentive to actually buy that thing, as opposed to just whatever, you know, basic gun they actually come out with. So if these gun manufacturers kind of want to keep up during a time where, of course, you know, it's going to be slower, they're going to have to innovate more. So that's good for you and me. But of course, there's going to be manufacturers, right? And there's going to be people in the industry that don't like these changes. And so while there's some organizations that, you know, won't like this shift over the next 4 years because maybe they can't sell as many memberships or whatever, you'll see the good companies, your GOAs, your FPCs, other companies like that, that will continue to thrive, right? Because they're going to continue to fight those state battles. And of course, like GOA has a pre-written letter right now telling gun owners to send a message to Trump. Hey, you made these promises. We want to see these as well. Even though he's kept some, right, kind of in a not very public way, right? It seems like he's tackling immigration and other things, which are important, but still he kept those promises. So you got to keep those promises too, right? So they are continuously A lot of those gun organizations, pro-gun groups, are focusing on fights at the state levels and other things. So they're great. You keep supporting them because that's what you do. Here's the other cool part about this. If we introduce more people to guns at a time like this, it'll be different than 2020. There was a lot of new gun owners in 2020, sure, but they were paying higher prices. Well, now if you introduce people to guns, right, and you do it in a way where you can be like, hey, you know, you can actually save a lot of money right now. It's a great time to buy, right? And then it's a multifaceted positive effect that you can have just from introducing one new gun owner, right? We can all play a small part in this, which makes it even better, because then that gun owner, they become familiar, they learn how to shoot, maybe they start carrying, they think about defense, they think about protecting their families, and then they get to the core of what we do and why we do it, and then they start thinking about how they vote and how that affects their rights. This is a trickle-down effect, trickle-down gunomics, if you will. I just came up with that, and it probably sounds stupid, but whatever. That's a positive effect at a time like this that we can have on all new gun owners, and it's a little bit more attractive because it's going to be cheaper now, and that's a good thing, right? Trump will have a negative effect on the gun industry over the next 4 years. He's just going to. But you can take advantage of that and still support some of the companies that you love and venture into different aspects of it. We don't need fear and tragic events and talks of gun control in order to stay strong as a community and show where we stand. No matter who's sitting in the White House, we can always remain strong, vigilant, continue to support the companies we need to support, but you're going to see a slight change over the next 4 years. And that's, again, that's what we ask for. Not be worried about gun control talk every 2 seconds and having these people continuously demonize the gun community as a whole. That's just my opinion, though. I'd love to hear yours, no matter what it is. Let me know down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.